The letter arrived on a Tuesday, 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days after the shooting. Linda Harper, standing at her mailbox at the end of her driveway in suburban Denver, sorted through bills, advertisements, and catalogs she'd never ordered. And then, a handwritten envelope. No return address, just her name and address in careful, feminine script. She almost threw it away, assumed it was junk mail, solicitation, something unwanted. But something made her open it, standing right there by the mailbox in the cold November air. The letter inside was 3 pages, handwritten, same careful script, dated 4 days earlier. Linda, unfolding the pages, began reading. Dear Mrs. Harper, my name is Carol Brennan. You don't know me, but you know my son. His name was Daniel Brennan. He was the shooter at Meadowbrook High School on September 12th, 3 years ago. The one who killed 6 students, including your son, Ryan.
I know you probably never want to hear his name. Or mine. And I understand. I wouldn't want to hear from me either if I were you. But I'm writing because I need to ask you something. Something I have no right to ask. But I'm asking anyway because I don't know what else to do. Can I meet with you? In person? To talk? To apologize? To try to explain, even though there's no explanation that makes sense. I know Daniel took your son from you, and nothing I say will bring him back. Nothing I say will make it better. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. So deeply sorry. And I need to see your face when I say it, if you'll allow me. I understand if you say no. I understand if you tear up this letter and never respond. I understand if you hate me. I hate myself most days. But if there's any part of you that could find it in your heart to meet with me, please. My phone number is below. I'm begging you. Carol Brennan.
Linda stood there, frozen, letter shaking in her hands, the words blurring as tears formed. Carol Brennan, the shooter's mother, Daniel Brennan's mother, the woman who raised the boy who walked into Meadowbrook High School with an AR-15 and killed 6 teenagers, including Ryan, including her beautiful, brilliant, kind 17-year-old son. Linda, her voice a whisper, cracking, says, "No, no, no." She crumpled the letter, threw it on the ground, walked back toward her house, fast, almost running. But halfway up the driveway, she stopped, turned, looked back at the crumpled papers on the pavement. And something inside her, something she couldn't name, made her go back, pick them up, smooth them out, fold them, take them inside. My name is Linda Harper. I'm 52 years old. I've lived in Lakewood, Colorado for 23 years, married to Tom for 28 years. We have 2 children. Had 2 children. Megan, 24, alive, living in Seattle, working in tech, calling every week, visiting when she can, carrying her own grief, her own survivor's guilt. Why her brother and not her? And Ryan, who should be 20, should be in college, should be calling home asking for money and laundry advice, should be living, laughing, loving, but he's not. Because 3 years ago, on September 12th, he went to school, like he did every day, junior year at Meadowbrook High School. Smart kid, honor roll, baseball team, good friends, planning to apply to CU Boulder, wanted to study engineering. Normal kid, normal day. Until 10:32 in the morning, when Daniel Brennan, 18 years old, senior, quiet kid who nobody really knew, walked into the cafeteria during third period lunch with an AR-15 rifle he'd taken from his father's gun safe, and started shooting. 6 students died, 14 were injured, dozens were traumatized, hundreds witnessed it, thousands were affected. And Daniel? Daniel saved the last bullet for himself. Shot himself in the head before police could stop him. Dead at the scene. Ryan was the 3rd victim, shot in the chest, died instantly, they said. Didn't suffer, they said. As if that made it better. As if instant death somehow reduced the horror of your child being murdered, in a place that was supposed to be safe. The aftermath was chaos. Police, ambulances, parents screaming, running, searching, praying. I was at work, 4th grade teacher at Riverside Elementary. Got a call from Tom. There's been a shooting at Ryan's school. I'm going there, meet me. I drove, 90 miles an hour, ran red lights, didn't care, just needed to get there, to find him, to know he was safe. But when I arrived, when I saw Tom's face, standing outside the police perimeter, pale, tears streaming, shaking his head, I knew. Before he said a word, I knew. Tom, his voice barely audible, said, "He's gone, Linda. Ryan's gone."
And something inside me died that day too. Not all of me, but the part that knew joy, the part that felt safe, the part that believed the world was good. That part died with Ryan. The funeral was 5 days later. Open casket, even though everyone advised against it. But I needed to see him, needed to touch him, needed to say goodbye properly. He looked peaceful. That's what people said. He looks peaceful. But he didn't. He looked dead. Because he was dead. My son was dead. In a box. Being lowered into the ground. And I had to watch. The investigation revealed everything. Daniel had been bullied, isolated, depressed, had posted concerning things online, had made threats that were ignored, warning signs everywhere, and nobody did anything. His parents, Carol and Stephen Brennan, were devastated, released a statement, apologizing, saying they had no idea, that they wished they'd seen the signs, that they were sorry, so sorry. Sorry. As if that word meant anything. As if apologies could bring back 6 children, could undo trauma, could erase nightmares. Stephen Brennan, Daniel's father, killed himself 6 months after the shooting, hung himself in their garage, couldn't live with the guilt, with the blame, with having owned the gun that his son used. Carol survived, somehow, moved away, nobody knew where. She disappeared, into grief, into shame, into whatever hell mothers of mass shooters live in. Until today, until this letter, until she reached out, asking to meet. Asking for what? Forgiveness? Closure? Absolution? I don't know, and I don't want to know. Linda, sitting at her kitchen table, the letter spread out in front of her, looked at the phone number written at the bottom. She could call, could say yes, could meet with this woman, could hear whatever she needed to say. Or she could ignore it, throw it away, pretend it never came, continue living in her grief, her anger, her justified hatred. Linda, talking to herself to the empty kitchen, says, "Why is she doing this? Why now? What does she want from me?" But she knew. She knew exactly what Carol wanted. The same thing Linda couldn't give. Forgiveness. For 3 days, Linda carried the letter. In her purse, folded, hidden, but always there, always present, always pulling at her. She told Tom, that night, after dinner, sitting on the couch where they'd sat 1,000 times, watching TV, pretending life was normal, pretending they weren't broken. Linda, holding the letter, says, "I got something today, from Carol Brennan, Daniel's mother. She wants to meet." Tom, his whole body tensing, says, "What? Why?" Linda says, "To apologize, I don't know, to ask for forgiveness, I think." Tom, standing up, his voice rising, says, "Absolutely not. You're not meeting her. You're not giving her that. She doesn't deserve it." Linda, calmly, says, "I know." Tom, pacing now, says, "Her son murdered our son, murdered 5 other children, traumatized hundreds, destroyed families. And she wants what? A conversation? Closure? No, no way." Linda, still calm, says, "I agree." Tom, stopping, looking at her, says, "Then why are you even considering it?" Linda, honestly, says, "I don't know. Something about the letter, the way she wrote it, the desperation. I can't explain it." Tom, sitting back down, taking her hand, says, "Honey, you don't owe her anything. Nothing. She was his mother. She raised him. She missed the signs. Her husband owned the gun. Their failures killed Ryan. Don't let her use you to feel better about herself." Linda, tears forming, says, "I know, you're right. But what if I need to do this? Not for her, but for me?" Tom, confused, says, "How would meeting her help you?" Linda says, "I don't know if it would. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would make everything worse. But I think about it. All the time. Her, Daniel's mother, living with what he did. And I wonder, is she suffering too? Does she hurt like I hurt? And if she does that change anything?" Tom firmly says, "No, it doesn't change that Ryan is dead.
it doesn't bring him back. Meeting her, forgiving her, it won't heal you. It'll just reopen wounds. Linda, knowing he was probably right, says, maybe, but I need to think about it. Tom, resigned, says, okay, think, but don't decide tonight. Sleep on it. Pray about it. Whatever you need, but don't rush into something you can't take back. Linda nodded, but she'd already decided, deep down, she was going to meet Carol Brennan. Not because she wanted to, but because something inside her, something she couldn't name, was pulling her toward it.
2 days later, Friday evening, Linda, sitting in her bedroom, alone, Tom, downstairs watching football, held her phone. Carol Brennan's number on the screen. Typed in, not called yet, just there. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Press it and everything changes. Don't press it and life stays the same. Safe in grief, safe in anger, safe in justified hatred. But was she safe? Or was she imprisoned? Trapped in a moment 3 years ago, unable to move forward, unable to heal, unable to live. Linda, whispering to herself, says, God, if this is wrong, stop me, please. She waited, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Nothing stopped her. She pressed call. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Maybe she wouldn't answer. Maybe a voice, female, hesitant, scared. Carol, barely audible, says, hello? Linda, her own voice shaking, says, this is Linda Harper. Silence. Complete silence. Then a sob from the other end. Carol, crying, says, oh God, you called. I didn't think you would. I didn't think... Linda, interrupting, keeping her voice steady, says, I got your letter. Carol, trying to compose herself, says, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For writing, for calling, for existing. I'm so sorry. Linda says, you asked to meet. Carol says, yes, but I understand if you can't. If you won't, I have no right to ask. Linda, surprising herself, says, I'll meet you. Once. To hear what you have to say. But that's all. I'm not promising anything. No forgiveness, no closure. Just a conversation. Carol says, that's all I'm asking. When? Where? Linda says, neutral place, public, coffee shop, Starbucks on Wadsworth, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Carol says, I'll be there. Thank you. Thank you so much. Linda says, don't thank me yet. I don't know what I'm doing, or why. I need to see you, to understand, if that's even possible. Carol says, I understand. I'll see you tomorrow. Linda hung up, sat there, staring at the phone. What had she just done? Tom appeared in the doorway, says, who are you talking to? Linda, looking up at him, says, Carol Brennan, I'm meeting her tomorrow. Tom, his face falling, says, Linda. Linda, standing, walking to him, says, I have to. I don't know why, but I have to. Come with me if you want, or don't, but I'm doing this. Tom, after a long pause, says, I'll come. I don't like it, but I'm not letting you face her alone. Saturday, 1:58 p.m. Linda and Tom, sitting in their car in the Starbucks parking lot, watched people come and go. Teenagers, families, couples. Normal people living normal lives. Linda, her hands gripping the steering wheel even though the car was off, says, I don't know if I can do this. Tom says, then don't. We can leave right now. She'll understand. Linda, shaking her head, says, no. I called her. I agreed to this. I have to. She opened the car door, got out. Tom followed. They walked inside. The coffee shop was moderately busy. Saturday afternoon crowd. Laptops open. People studying, talking, living. Linda scanned the room and saw her. Immediately. Carol Brennan. Sitting alone at a corner table, away from everyone, clutching a coffee cup with both hands, looking terrified. She was small, 50-something, gray hair pulled back, plain clothes, no makeup, eyes red and swollen, the face of someone who'd cried for 3 years straight. Linda, taking a breath, walked toward her, Tom close behind. Carol saw them, stood up, quickly, nervously, her hands trembling. Carol, her voice shaking, says, Linda? Mrs. Harper? Linda, nodding, says, yes, this is my husband, Tom. Carol, looking at Tom, says, Mr. Harper, thank you for coming, both of you. Please, sit. They sat, across from her.
A small table between them, coffee cups as barriers, silence as walls. Carol, starting to cry before even speaking, says, "I don't know where to start. I've rehearsed this 1,000 times, but now I don't know what to say." Linda, her voice cold, controlled, says, "Start with why. Why did you want to meet? What could you possibly say that would matter?" Carol, nodding, accepting the harshness, says, "You're right. Nothing I say matters. Nothing changes what happened. But I needed you to see me, to see that I'm destroyed too, that I lost my son too, that I live every day knowing what he did, knowing that I raised someone who became a monster." Tom, his voice hard, says, "You did raise him. This was your job, your responsibility, and you failed, catastrophically." Carol, not arguing, says, "Yes, I did. Every day I think about what I missed, what I ignored, what I should have seen. Daniel was quiet, isolated, spent too much time online, had no friends, was bullied at school, and I thought it was normal teenage stuff, thought he'd grow out of it. I was wrong, so wrong." Linda says, "He posted online about violence, about hurting people. Police found it after. Why didn't you see it?" Carol, crying harder now, says, "I don't know. I didn't monitor his social media. Thought I should respect his privacy. Thought he was just venting, playing video games, being a teenager. I was stupid, naive, and 6 children died because I didn't pay attention." She pulled something from her purse, a photo, slid it across the table. Carol says, "This is the last photo I have of Daniel, taken 2 weeks before he did it. Look at him. Really look." Linda didn't want to see the shooter as human, as someone's child, but she looked anyway. The photo showed a teenager, thin, pale, dark circles under eyes, wearing a black hoodie, not smiling, not looking at the camera, looking empty, lost, broken. Carol says, "He was suffering, and I didn't see it. I was working 2 jobs. His father was distant, angry, drank too much. We were failing as parents, as people, and Daniel paid the price. And so did your son, and 5 others, and their families." Linda, staring at the photo, feeling something she didn't want to feel, pity, says, "Why did he do it? Did he leave a note? An explanation?" Carol says, "No note, but police found his journal, writings. He felt invisible, unwanted, bullied. Nobody at school acknowledged him. Nobody sat with him at lunch. Nobody invited him anywhere. He wrote that he wanted to be seen, to be remembered, to matter." She paused, took a shaky breath, and he chose violence, because that's what he'd consumed online. Manifestos from other shooters, forums where angry boys encouraged each other. He wasn't born a monster, he became one, because we live in a culture that creates monsters, and I failed to protect him from it, or protect others from him. Tom says, "So what? We're supposed to feel sorry for him? For you? Your son murdered innocent children, including ours. He doesn't get sympathy." Carol says, "No, he doesn't, and neither do I. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for, I don't even know, understanding, acknowledgement that I'm human too, that I'm suffering too." Linda, her voice breaking, says, "You're suffering? You think your suffering compares to mine? To Tom's? To the other families? We buried our children. You buried a murderer. It's not the same." Carol, sobbing now, says, "You're right, it's not the same. Your son was innocent, beautiful, good. Mine was broken, evil, a killer, but he was still my son, and I loved him, even though I hate what he became, even though I wish he'd never been born. I loved him, and that makes me a monster too, doesn't it?" The words hung there, heavy, impossible. Linda, feeling tears now, unwanted tears, says, "I don't know. I don't know what you are. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what you want from me." Carol, looking directly at her, says, "I want you to forgive me, not him, me, for failing, for not seeing, for not stopping it. I know I have no right to ask, but I'm drowning in guilt, in shame, in grief, and I thought maybe if you could forgive me, if you could tell me I'm not completely worthless, maybe I could survive this." Linda, standing abruptly, the chair scraping loudly, says, I can't give you that. I can barely survive myself. You're asking me to carry you when I can't even carry me?" Carol, standing too, desperate, says, Please, Linda, I'm begging you. Just say it. Say you forgive me, even if you don't mean it, please." Linda, backing away, shaking her head, says, "No, I can't. I'm sorry. I thought I could do this, but I can't." She turned, walked toward the door, Tom following. Carol calling after her, "Please, Linda, please." But Linda didn't stop, walked out, into the parking lot, into the car. And the moment the door closed, the world changed. Sound disappeared. The hum of the car engine that wasn't even running, the traffic outside, the wind, everything silent. Linda, sitting in the driver's seat, Tom frozen beside her, looked around.
Everything had stopped. A bird in mid-flight outside the windshield, completely still, wings extended, not moving, not falling, just frozen. People walking into Starbucks, mid-step, unmoving, expressions locked. Time stopped. Linda, her heart pounding, says, "What's happening, Tom?" But Tom didn't respond, didn't move, frozen like everything else. Linda, panicking, says, "Tom, wake up! What's going on?" And then, the voice. That same deep, compassionate voice. "You ran." Linda, spinning in her seat, seeing no one, says, "Who's there?" You ran. Just like Peter, just like the disciples, when confronted with impossible forgiveness. Linda says, "I can't forgive her. She wants something I can't give." Can't or won't? Linda, angry now, says, "Both. Her son killed mine. She raised him. She failed. And now she wants me to make her feel better? It's not my job." Come, see something. Someone who forgave the unforgivable. And before Linda could protest, the car dissolved. The crucifixion. Linda blinked. She was no longer in the car. She was standing somewhere else. Somewhere horrific. Heat, blazing heat, sun directly overhead, noon, middle of the day. But the sky was wrong. Dark, unnatural darkness, eclipse maybe, or something supernatural. She looked around. She was on a hill, small, rocky, barren, and at the top, 3 crosses, wood, crude, rough, and on them, 3 men, crucified. Linda felt sick. She'd seen images, paintings, movies, but this was real. The blood, the flies, the smell of death, the sounds of agony. The man on the left, a criminal, gasping, cursing, dying. The man on the right, another criminal, also dying, but quieter, resigned. And in the center, Jesus. Linda moved closer, not wanting to, but compelled. She'd been raised Catholic, knew the story, but had never seen it. Like this, raw, real, brutal. Jesus was destroyed. His back, visible from the side, was shredded, whipped, flesh torn, bones exposed in places. Blood covered everything. His hands and feet, nailed. Huge iron spikes driven through flesh and wood. The weight of his body pulling, tearing. Every breath required pushing up against those nails. Agony, pure agony. His face, bruised, swollen, covered in blood from the crown of thorns pressed into his skull. Eyes barely open, lips cracked, breathing shallow. And the people, below the cross, a crowd, soldiers, Roman guards, gambling, playing dice, for his clothes, laughing, mocking. Religious leaders, Pharisees, scribes, pointing, sneering. One of them says, "He saved others, but he can't save himself. If you're the Son of God, come down from the cross." Others laughed, joined in, cruel, heartless. Linda, watching, felt rage. How could they? He was dying, suffering, and they were mocking him? But then, a small group, off to the side, women, crying, and one older woman, face wet with tears, being held up by a younger man. Mary, his mother, watching her son die, unable to help, unable to stop it, just watching. Linda understood that grief, that helplessness, watching your child die, unable to save them. One of the criminals, the one on the left, gasping, says, "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us!" Mocking even in death. But the other criminal, the one on the right, says, "Don't you fear God? We're getting what we deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he looked at Jesus, says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus,
despite the agony, despite the pain, despite dying, turned his head, looked at the criminal, and spoke. Voice hoarse, weak, but clear. Jesus says, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Forgiveness to a criminal, a man who deserved death, offered paradise. But that wasn't all.
Jesus, looking down at the soldiers, at the people who'd arrested him, beaten him, nailed him to wood, the ones gambling for his clothes, mocking him. He looked at them and spoke, louder this time, despite the pain, despite everything. Jesus says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Linda stopped, stood completely still. Had she heard that right? Forgive them? Forgive the people torturing him, killing him, mocking him? They weren't asking for forgiveness, weren't sorry, weren't repentant. They were laughing, gambling, enjoying the show. And Jesus, bleeding, dying, asked God to forgive them. Not because they deserved it, but because they didn't know, didn't understand, didn't comprehend what they were doing. The scene continued. Hours passed, compressed in seconds. Jesus' breathing slowing, body weakening, death approaching. Finally, Jesus looked up at the darkened sky, says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit," and died. Head falling forward, body going limp. The darkness lifted, the earth shook. The veil in the temple tore, creation itself responding to God dying. And the centurion, the Roman soldier who'd overseen the crucifixion, who'd helped nail Jesus to the cross, looked up at the dead body and said something that made Linda's heart stop. The centurion, awed, terrified, says, "Surely this was the Son of God." Understanding, too late, what he'd done, who he'd killed. The scene began to fade, the crosses, the crowd, Jesus, all dissolving. But Linda heard it one more time, clear, unmistakable. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." The voice returned. "You saw." Linda, tears streaming, says, "I saw." "What did you see?" Linda, her voice breaking, says, "I saw Jesus, dying, tortured, killed by people who mocked him, who enjoyed his suffering. And he forgave them, asked God to forgive them, even though they didn't ask, didn't repent, didn't deserve it." Why did he forgive? Linda, struggling, says, because they didn't know, didn't understand what they were doing. And Carol? Does she understand what her son did? Linda says, yes, she understands. She knows exactly what happened. Does she? Or is she like those soldiers, doing her best, making mistakes, not comprehending the magnitude until it was too late? Linda, defensive, says, she was his mother. It was her job to see, to prevent it. Mary was Jesus' mother too. Could she have stopped the crucifixion? Could she have prevented his death? Or was she powerless, watching her son die, suffering with him? Linda, understanding starting to dawn, says, Carol couldn't have stopped Daniel, could she? Once he'd made the choice, once he'd picked up the gun, she was powerless. Yes, and now she suffers, like Mary suffered, watching the consequences of choices she couldn't control. Her son killed innocents, then killed himself. She lost him too, in the worst possible way. Linda, angry again, says, but Ryan was innocent. Daniel was a murderer. It's not the same loss. No, it's not. Your grief is different. Your pain is different. But her grief is still real. Her pain is still valid. And her request for forgiveness? It's not about making her feel better. It's about freeing you. Linda, confused, says, freeing me? How does forgiving her free me? What are you carrying, right now, in this moment? What weight do you bear? Linda, thinking, says, grief, anger, hatred for Daniel, for what he did, for what he took from me. And Carol, what do you feel toward her? Linda, honestly, says, anger, blame. She should have stopped him, should have seen it coming. She failed, and Ryan paid for her failure. And carrying that anger, that blame, has it brought Ryan back? Has it healed your pain? Has it given you peace? Linda says, no, but I'm entitled to it. I have a right to be angry. You do, absolutely.
Your anger is justified. But Jesus, on the cross, had the right to anger too. The right to curse those killing him. The right to call down judgment. But instead, he chose forgiveness. Not because they deserved it, but because he deserved freedom. Forgiveness isn't for the offender. It's for the forgiver. It's releasing the weight, the poison, the chains that bind you to the person who hurt you. Carol will live in her hell regardless of whether you forgive her. But you're living in a hell of your own making, chained to her, to Daniel, to that day, by unforgiveness. Linda, crying now, says, "But if I forgive her, it means what she did is okay. It means I'm letting her off the hook. It means Ryan's death doesn't matter." No, forgiveness doesn't mean it's okay. Doesn't mean there are no consequences. Doesn't mean the pain disappears. It means you're choosing to release the debt. Not because it's been paid, but because carrying it is killing you.
Jesus forgave his killers. Did that make crucifixion okay? Did that erase the crime? Did that mean his death didn't matter?
No, it meant he refused to die with hatred in his heart. He chose freedom over bondage, love over vengeance, peace over poison. Linda, shaking, says, "I don't know if I can. It feels impossible, like betraying Ryan, like saying his life wasn't worth my anger." Your anger doesn't honor Ryan. Your life does. Living fully, loving deeply, being free, that honors him. Staying chained to grief and hatred, that's dying with him. Is that what he'd want? Linda, remembering Ryan, his laugh, his kindness, his joy, says, "No, he wouldn't want that. He'd want me to live, to be happy, to move forward." Then forgive. Not for Carol, for you, for Ryan, for Tom, for everyone who loves you and watches you suffer. Forgive so you can be free. Linda says, "And if I forgive her, what then? Do I have to be her friend? Stay in contact? Pretend everything is okay?" No. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. You can forgive someone and never see them again. You can forgive and still have boundaries. Forgiveness is internal. It's releasing the debt in your heart. What you do externally is your choice. Linda, with new understanding, whispered, says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Jesus didn't wait for them to apologize, didn't wait for them to deserve it, just forgave, because he chose freedom over chains. Yes. Linda, taking a deep breath, says, Okay, I'll forgive her, not because she deserves it, but because I deserve peace, because I can't carry this anymore, because Ryan deserves a mother who lives, not one who's dead inside. The car returned, sound rushing back, traffic, wind, Tom breathing beside her. Linda, still sitting, looked at the clock. 2:31 p.m. When she'd looked before? 2:31 p.m. 7 seconds ago. 7 seconds. The cross, Jesus, the forgiveness, all in 7 seconds.
Tom, looking at her with concern, says, "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost."
Linda, wiping her face, says, I'm going back in." Tom, surprised, says, "What? Why?" Linda, opening the car door, says, "Because I need to do something. Something I should have done inside. Come with me." They walked back into the Starbucks. Carol was still there, sitting at the table, head in her hands, sobbing quietly. People were staring, uncomfortable, but she didn't notice. Linda, walking straight to her, sat down. Carol, looking up, startled, mascara running, says, "You came back." Linda says, "I did, because I realized something. You asked me for forgiveness, and I said I couldn't give it. But I was wrong. I can, and I will." Carol, frozen, says, "What?" Linda, tears flowing, says, "I forgive you, Carol. Not because you deserve it. Not because it makes what happened okay. Not because it erases my pain. But because I can't carry this hatred anymore. It's killing me, and Ryan wouldn't want that." Carol, breaking down, says, oh God, thank you so much." Linda, holding up her hand, says, "Wait, let me finish. I forgive you, but that doesn't mean we're friends. Doesn't mean I want contact. Doesn't mean I ever want to see you again. Forgiveness doesn't erase boundaries. I'm releasing you from the debt, not inviting you into my life." Carol, nodding vigorously, says, "I understand. I do. I'm not asking for relationship, just forgiveness. And you gave it. That's more than I deserve, more than I hoped for." Linda says, "I also want you to know something. I don't forgive Daniel. I can't. Maybe someday, but not today. He made choices,
terrible choices, and those choices killed my son. I can't forgive that yet. Carol says, I understand. And I don't forgive him either. Some days. I can't forgive myself for loving him, for missing him, even knowing what he did. Linda says, you're his mother. You're allowed to grieve him, even though he was a killer. That's your burden to carry, just like my grief for Ryan is mine. They sat there. Two mothers, two types of grief, two impossible losses, connected by tragedy, separated by circumstances. Finally, Linda stood, says, goodbye, Carol. I hope you find peace. I hope you heal. But I can't be part of that journey. Carol, standing, says, thank you. For this. For seeing me. For forgiving me. I'll never forget it. Linda nodded, turned, walked out with Tom, into the parking lot, into the car. And this time, when the door closed, she felt something different. Lighter. Not happy, not healed, but lighter. The weight of hatred, of blame, of unforgiveness, released. Not gone, but released. Forgiveness wasn't a magic cure. Linda didn't wake up the next day transformed, didn't suddenly feel joy, didn't stop grieving Ryan, but something had shifted. The bitterness, the consuming hatred, it had loosened its grip. She started going to therapy, real therapy, for grief, for PTSD, for processing trauma, something she'd avoided for 3 years because it felt like betraying Ryan, like moving on meant forgetting him. But her therapist, Dr. Chen, an older Asian woman with kind eyes, said something that changed Linda's perspective. Dr. Chen, in one session, says, grieving isn't forgetting. Living isn't betraying. Ryan existed. He mattered. He was loved. And nothing, not time, not healing, not joy, changes that. You honor him by living fully, not by dying slowly. Linda cried, released, permission given. She also started sleeping better. Not great, but better. The nightmares decreased. Not gone, but less frequent. And she started connecting with other parents. From the shooting, from other shootings. A community of grief, of shared trauma, of understanding. One mother, Patricia, whose daughter Sophia had died in the same shooting, said at a support group meeting,
says, I saw Daniel Brennan's mother at the grocery store last month. She looked destroyed. Part of me wanted to scream at her, blame her, make her hurt. But another part just saw another grieving mother, and I didn't know what to feel.
Linda, sharing for the first time, says,
I met her, Carol, a few weeks ago. She asked for forgiveness, and I gave it. Not for her, for me, because I couldn't carry the hatred anymore.
The room was silent. Then Patricia says,
How did it feel? After?
Linda, honestly, says,
Lighter. Still painful. Still grieving. But lighter. Like putting down a heavy bag I'd been carrying for years.
Another parent asked,
Do you regret it? Forgiving her?
Linda, thinking, says, no, because forgiveness didn't change what happened, didn't bring Ryan back, didn't make it okay. It just released me from being chained to her, to that day, to the hatred, and that was worth it. 6 months after meeting Carol, Linda, standing in her backyard on a sunny April morning, planted a tree, a maple tree, Ryan's favorite. He used to climb the maple in their old yard as a kid, spent hours up there, reading, thinking, dreaming. Tom helped her dig the hole, place the sapling, cover the roots, water it in. Tom, standing back, looking at the small tree, says, he would have liked this. Linda, nodding, says, he would have. And someday, maybe our grandkids will climb it, and we'll tell them about Uncle Ryan, about who he was, what he loved, how he mattered. Tom, putting his arm around her, says, I'm proud of you, for forgiving Carol, for going to therapy, for living again. Ryan would be proud too. Linda, leaning into him, says, I'm not healed, not even close, but I'm trying. And some days, that's enough. A week later, Linda received a letter, handwritten, but not from Carol, from someone else. She opened it, read, Dear Mrs. Harper, my name is David Chen. You don't know me, but I was Daniel Brennan's English teacher. I've wanted to write to you for 3 years, but didn't know what to say. I saw things, in Daniel's writing, in his behavior, warning signs, and I reported them, to the school counselor, to the principal, to his parents. But nothing was done. And then he did what he did. I've lived with guilt ever since, wondering if I could have done more, said more, pushed harder. I recently learned that you met with Carol Brennan, that you forgave her, and I wanted to ask, do you think you could forgive me too, for not doing enough, for missing chances to stop it? I understand if you can't, but I needed to ask. Sincerely, David Chen.
Linda read it twice, thought about it, and then wrote back. Mr. Chen, thank you for writing, and yes, I forgive you. Not because you failed, but because you tried. You saw, you reported, and the system failed, not you. You couldn't have known, couldn't have stopped it, just like Carol couldn't, just like anyone couldn't. Daniel made choices, terrible choices, and those choices destroyed lives. But that's not your burden to carry. I forgive you, and I hope you forgive yourself. Respectfully, Linda Harper. She sent it and realized forgiveness was becoming easier. Not because the pain was less, but because she understood now that forgiveness freed the forgiver, that releasing others released her, that choosing peace over poison was choosing life over death. 1 year after meeting Carol, Linda, standing at Ryan's grave on the anniversary of his death, placed flowers on the headstone, white lilies, his favorite. The headstone read, Ryan Michael Harper, 2002 to 2019, beloved son and brother, forever in our hearts. Linda, kneeling, touching the cold marble, says, Hey baby, it's been 4 years. 4 years since I lost you, since the world lost you, and I miss you every single day, every single moment. She paused, gathering strength. But I'm living, Ryan, really living, for the first time since you died. I'm going to therapy, I'm sleeping, I'm smiling sometimes. I even laughed last week, really laughed. And I felt guilty for a second, but then I remembered, you'd want this. You'd want me to live. I met with Daniel's mom. Did I tell you that? Probably not. I don't know if you hear me, but I met her, and I forgave her. Not for her, for me, because hating her was killing me, and you wouldn't want that. I forgave, but I'll never forget. You mattered, Ryan. Your life mattered. Your death matters. And I'll make sure people remember, not just the tragedy, but you, who you were, what you loved, how you made people laugh. She stood, wiped her eyes, and walked back to the car where Tom waited. Tom says, You okay? Linda says, Yeah, I am. Not perfect, but okay. And that's enough. The truth about forgiveness is this. It's not for them. It's for you. Jesus, on the cross, didn't forgive his killers because they deserved it. They didn't. They were torturing him, mocking him, murdering him. He forgave because carrying hatred while dying was unbearable. He chose freedom over chains, peace over poison, love over vengeance. Linda Harper learned that, in 7 seconds, in a frozen moment, seeing Jesus, understanding forgiveness, not as weakness, not as acceptance, but as release. She forgave Carol Brennan, not because Carol deserved it, not because it erased Ryan's death, not because it made anything okay, but because Linda deserved peace, deserved to live, deserved to be free from the chains of hatred that bound her to the woman whose son killed hers. Forgiveness didn't bring Ryan back, didn't heal the trauma, didn't erase the nightmares, but it released Linda from carrying a weight that was destroying her, from being defined by anger, from dying inside while still breathing. 3 years after forgiving Carol, Linda started a foundation, Ryan's Light, dedicated to school safety, mental health awareness, suicide prevention, bullying intervention. Everything that might have saved Daniel, might have prevented the shooting, might have protected Ryan. She turned grief into purpose, turned tragedy into meaning, turned death into life. And at the Foundation's first fundraiser, Linda stood at a podium and said something that shocked everyone. Linda, speaking to 200 people, says, My son Ryan was murdered 4 years ago by Daniel Brennan, a broken, hurting, ignored teenager who chose violence. And I hated Daniel, hated his family, hated everyone involved, for years. But then I learned something from Jesus, on the cross, dying, in agony, who looked at his killers and said, Father, forgive them. And I realized
Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about me. About choosing life over death, peace over poison, freedom over chains. So I forgave Daniel's mother, his teachers, the system that failed. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. And now I'm alive, really alive. And I'm using my pain to prevent others from experiencing it. That's how I honor Ryan. Not by staying angry, but by living fully. The room stood, applauded, cried, because they understood that forgiveness is the hardest gift and the most freeing.
5 years after the shooting, Linda received another letter from Carol Brennan.
Dear Linda, I know you said you didn't want contact, and I'll respect that. This is the last letter I'll send, but I wanted you to know, your forgiveness saved my life. Literally, I was planning to end it, the same way Stephen did. I couldn't live with the guilt anymore. But after you forgave me, something changed. I realized, if you could forgive the unforgivable, maybe I could learn to forgive myself. Maybe I could live. Maybe I could try to make amends. I've been volunteering at suicide prevention hotlines, talking to parents of struggling teens, trying to prevent what I failed to prevent with Daniel. I'll never be whole, never be okay, but I'm living because you gave me permission by forgiving me. You released me from the death sentence I'd imposed on myself. Thank you for that gift, even though I didn't deserve it.
I won't write again, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to honor your mercy. Carol. Linda read it, cried, and then filed it away. She didn't respond, didn't need to. The forgiveness had been given, complete, final. And both women, both mothers, both broken by the same tragedy, were learning to live again. Not healed, not whole, but alive. And sometimes, that's enough. This was Linda's story, but it's also yours, because we all carry debts, wrongs done to us, pain inflicted by others, wounds that feel too deep to heal. And we have a choice. Do we carry the anger? Do we nurse the hatred? Do we stay chained to those who hurt us? Or do we remember that Jesus, on the cross, suffering unimaginable pain, looked at his killers and said, "Father, forgive them." Not because they deserved it, but because he deserved freedom. Because dying with hatred was unbearable. Because forgiveness freed him. Not them, him. Linda Harper learns that, in 7 seconds, in a frozen moment, that forgiveness isn't about the offender. It's about the forgiver. She forgave Carol Brennan, not because Carol deserved it, not because it erased Ryan's death, but because Linda deserved peace, deserved to live, deserved freedom from chains. Can you do the same? When someone wrongs you, when the pain is deep, when forgiveness seems impossible, can you choose freedom over bondage, peace over poison, life over death? Forgiveness doesn't mean it's okay, doesn't mean there are no consequences, doesn't mean reconciliation, doesn't mean trust. It means releasing the debt, releasing the chains, releasing yourself. Father, forgive them, not for them, for you. If you're carrying unforgiveness, if you're chained to someone who hurt you, if you're dying inside from hatred, you don't have to carry it anymore. Download the free ebook, Father, Forgive Them, The Freedom of Impossible Forgiveness. Link in the description.
This ebook includes complete study of Jesus forgiving from the cross, the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation, how to forgive when they don't deserve it, setting boundaries after forgiveness, practical steps to release anger and hatred, discussion questions for small groups, real stories of impossible forgiveness, how forgiveness heals the forgiver, support resources, The Forgiveness Project, www.theforgivenessproject.com, grief counseling, www.grievewell.org, school shooting survivors, www.sandyhookpromise.org. Next episode, Episode 5, Immigration, The Call, where Officer David Ramirez, an ICE officer, finds a Guatemalan family hiding and must choose between duty and compassion. What would Jesus do when the law conflicts with love? Subscribe, share, and remember, forgiveness frees the forgiver.